Welcome to today's painting guide. We're going to transform this tile step by step using simple but effective techniques. Let's jump in and start painting. We begin by applying Ranger Green as the base color, using the dry brush technique to highlight the raised areas while keeping the recesses dark. Dry brushing is a simple but powerful technique where you load a bit of paint onto your brush, then wipe most of it off on a paper towel before lightly sweeping it over the surface. This way, the paint naturally catches on the raised details while leaving the deeper areas untouched, instantly adding contrast and texture. It's a quick and easy way to bring out the details without losing depth, giving the tile a solid foundation to build on. You can quickly see how the details of the tile start to stand out, creating a clear contrast between the high points and the crevices. Now, grab some Coyote brown and dry brush it on. You want to gently sweep the brush across the surface, layering it to build up the tones. This step is all about enhancing the contrast. Contrast is what makes details pop. It's the difference between light and dark areas that gives your piece depth and dimension. By layering this color, we're deepening the shadows and making the highlights stand out even more, creating a richer, more dynamic look. A good contrast helps the texture feel more realistic and makes each element easier to read at a glance, which is especially important for miniatures. Focus on the stone areas, making sure the other parts remain untouched for now. To keep things clean, use a controlled, light-handed approach. Hold the brush closer to the bristles for better precision and offload excess paint to avoid accidental smudging. Next, we'll mix Parchment with the Coyote brown and refine our dry brush technique. Apply this to the raised points and especially the center of the floor for a more focused highlight. Using a smaller brush here gives you better control, making sure those highlights are sharp and defined without spilling over. To get the best results, focus on the highest points where natural light would catch and use light, gentle strokes to build up the effect gradually. Less is more. Overdoing highlights can flatten the contrast, so aim for a balanced look. Let's switch gears and move on to the flesh element. For this, we're using Wonka Violet as the base to give it a reddish tone. Again, a thin brush is your best friend here. It helps you get clean, sharp edges and avoid smudging onto areas you don't want to paint yet. Since Wonka Violet is a bit transparent, we'll apply a couple of layers to build up the coverage and get that smooth, even finish. This technique is similar to glazing, where you use thin, translucent layers of paint to gradually build up color. Glazes help create smooth transitions, enhance depth, and keep details from getting lost under thick paint. The key is patience. Let each layer dry before adding the next to avoid streaks and get that rich, even tone. While the flesh dries, we focus on the broken window crystals, painting them with Amethyst blue for a cool, reflective surface. Black paint is used to define the window grills, adding sharp contrast against the bright blue to make the windows stand out. Time to add some serious depth to those walls. We'll use Sepia Ink for the crevices, applying it to all the nooks and crannies on the floor and walls. Inks are different from regular paints in that they are more fluid and transparent, which makes them perfect for washes and shading. They flow easily into recesses, providing a deep, even shadow without being too thick. Paints, on the other hand, are usually more opaque and have a thicker consistency, which is great for building up layers and covering large areas. Use a damp brush to gently remove the excess ink. This helps spread the color into the grooves for a natural dirt effect that'll bring out the texture. Now, let's go back to the flesh element. We'll use a dry brush of Dwarven flesh to hit those raised areas and highlight the texture. As you can see, dry brushing is one of our best allies to bring texture to life easily. Carefully cover the raised areas of the flesh, making sure not to affect the surrounding regions. Next, apply a wash of Volupus pink contrast. This blends everything together and smooths out the transitions between the colors. Transitions are key to making your painting look natural and cohesive. Without smooth transitions, the colors can appear harsh and disconnected, which can break the illusion of depth and texture. Once that's dried, go back in with Dwarven flesh to refine the highlights. This keeps the soft transitions from the wash, but brings those raised areas back to life. For added texture, we're using basic Skintone to define the pustules and wrinkles on the flesh and make some specific elements stand out. Now grab some wolf gray and apply it to some of the pustules to create the appearance of eyes. We're not aiming for hyper-realistic eyes here, but this step will do the job of clearly showing that there are eyes, adding an unsettling effect to the miniature. It's all about suggesting the detail without getting too caught up in the fine details. Use black paint to fill in the pupils. Remember, less is more sometimes, so don't overdo it. A small dot of black will create that sharp contrast and help the eyes stand out without making them look too harsh. For larger eyes, paint them with ocean blue first, then add thin black details. This will add more definition. Now for the iris details, use Millenium Falcon for the fine lines. Once that's done, add some ivory highlights to the eyes. The key is to keep the details small and focused on specific areas to make them pop without overloading the detail. For smaller eyes, a simple dot of color will do. It's minimalistic but adds a striking effect to the piece. To add more depth, we'll apply a red wash to the contact areas between the flesh and rock. This creates a sense of closeness between the two elements, like the flesh is almost blending into the rock. When using washes, remember to apply them lightly at first. You can always build up the effect gradually. Let the wash flow into the recesses, but if it pools too much, use a damp brush to gently remove the excess and keep the transition smooth. Finally, we're going to splatter some scarlet blood onto the tile to simulate realistic bloodstains and add intensity to the tiles. And that's a wrap. With just a few simple techniques, you've transformed this tile into something full of depth, contrast, and life. Thanks for following along, and remember, every brushstroke gets you closer to mastering your craft. Keep experimenting, and as always, happy painting!